today we're going to be talking about hard drives and flash storage. So I have 3 iPods here. One was made in 2004, 4 gig. It's a mini. It's a nice pastel blue. This is the 2nd gen made in 2005. I really like this blue color, and this is the boy we're going to be flash modding later. And then we have Mr. Nano. This is my daily driver. It's got all of the good songs on here. 500. Own this, man. You got a great taste in music. Love this boy. And we're going to be talking about how this chunk lad, this fat boy, went to being a thin boy with just 2 years and even 1 year, because this is the 1st gen Nano, and Apple was trying to get one of these things out for a long time because, they had the shuffle, but that was only 512 and you couldn't read your music. How do we get this in such a thin form factor? And maybe it was flash storage. Now, flash storage, as you know, is fast, it's reliable, and these things run faster than even the 5th gen over here. Like, this guy is really slow compared to a Nano, and that was one of the advantages of getting a Nano. Most people that were hardcore musics, they had this for shuffling, even though the iPod Shuffle was for shuffling, but you really want to see the songs. That's the whole point of the iPod. You take it out, you see what song, and you're like, oh yeah, I really like this song, let's turn it up. Or you want to scroll through to find the perfect song instead of having to click skip until you find it. And that's why I don't like shuffles. So this was like your shuffle boy, and this was for all of your music. What Apple had to do here was they had to figure out how can we a microchip that had enough storage where it was practical, thin enough where people would buy it over the big ladness. So in order for them to do that, they had to make some compromises, and that's why these things, they can catch on fire if you're not careful with the battery. These things, whenever you drop them, it's just a whole scene with that coming apart, battery expanding, and these things just don't work after a while. Thin factor, mate. Remember when Apple went for the thin factor,
And then we got this. Oh yeah, big times.
That thing still works, by the way. So they had these things because they were more mini than the full-size Nanos. You get Dave, he's a 60G. He is big and girthy and very, very fits in the pocket. And when you got Big Dave in your pocket, man, it stands out. Look at the 1st gen to the mini, mate. That's so much thinner. And the reason why they got these things so thin is they use these little tiny micro drives. Now, micro drives, like a hard drive, but it's not double density. So you only have 1 disk platter. So that means you can only have a limited amount of storage, 4 gigs or 6 gigs. Now, I don't really see the appeal of the minis because they weren't that thin enough where it would make a difference from you just buying a regular iPod. And the minis to the 3G and the 4th gen iPods, the difference in price was about $50 or $100 depending on your storage configuration. So it didn't really matter, and most people didn't buy minis. Most of the people that bought minis were just I like a few songs, but it was just a good entry-level iPod for some people that didn't really want to invest too much money into it, or didn't know where they stood or how much music they actually wanted to put on devices. And that's really what the mini was for, and then the Nano was just a shuffler. But how did they go from this to this really quickly? Well, this thing came out in 2005. This thing came out in 2007. The reason why the mini was so weird in a time it was discontinued and obsolete so freaking fast is because of their evolution of fast storage. So this is a genuine 128 megabyte SanDisk SD card from 2004. This puppy is worth about 10 cents today? $5. You get a pack of 2. And since we're all using USB-C to USB, it's using a 2.0 interface anyway. So even if you buy the 3.0, it doesn't even work. So just buy the 2.0. It doesn't make a difference. But this thing, no joke, costs $30 for one of these. And that's because an SD card, you have to have a controller chip and you have to have a send and receive. And people didn't really know how to build fast, reliable controller chips. So this guy, he runs at about 512 kilobytes a second. He's plugged into a computer and there's an adapter involved or anything like that. It runs even slower at 128 kilobits a second. If you're doing this over parallel on a Windows computer, 32 kilobits per second. Now, that doesn't matter because it's only 128 megs, but you look at this guy, this thing, it can transfer more data in 1 second than this thing can store. So bandwidth was another issue with SD cards. In 2010, cost $25 for 2 gigs for 15 megabits per second. Now, when in a world where you're just shuffling songs, that's fine. You're taking pictures, that's fine. But when you're recording video, this is not good enough. You need something extreme and make this for the video professionals. And this thing came out in 2009 and it would run you $100 for one of these things. this can fit in an iPod, and it's one of the fastest ones they sell. Now, the SD card is a little bit like USB-C. You got the mini, you have the micro, you have the B, you have the A, and then you have the C, but it was just all over the place. Dongles and adapters, like, we think they're bad now. Oh my God, back in the day, it was absolutely disgusting. Now we're getting to the next phase of SanDisk, where they came out with this, but then they were like, hey, let's make a smaller version of it. Came out with micro. These things, 2008, 2009, those were the first genuine, like, 2 gig. Oh, this one's 3 gig. This was 2009. This was a 2 gig from 2008. In 2006, they came out with the first 1 gig micro, and then Samsung, who designs all the beautiful SSDs in both this guy and in the 6 Plus over here right there. Flash storage in the iPods, you could either buy a 1 gig micro SD for $500, or you can get an iPod Nano for $250, and you could use this as a flash drive in disk mode. All you have to do is do play, pause, and then menu hold, and there you go. You're in disk mode, and you can use this as a little flash drive. So it was actually cheaper for you to buy an iPod for that purpose than it was to go buy one of these. And micro SD cards were used in the more of the professional world for really tiny cameras for studying in like science and laboratories. But then, you know what SanDisk said? They were like, well, let's get some Android people to put SD cards in their phone for expandable storage. Why did Android phones do this? Well, if you look at the poopy Android phone here, this one I actually like. It's kind of nice. It's very grippy. Let me, you have an 8 gig phone that came out in 2013, right when the 5S came out, mate. But they would make these things cheap, like 8 gigs, but then they would say, oh, we made it cheap, but you know, you got the option to put a micro SD in there for more storage if you needed it. So that was their workaround to get these phones so cheap. And also this one, I don't understand why that you remove the back to put this stuff in, because this battery is soldered right to the board, and the whole point of opening the back for Android phones is to replace the battery. Like, the reason why iPhones are all sealed is because to replace the battery, you have to go through the screen. Why did you make a phone that you take off the back and can't replace the battery? It's just annoying as crap. Sony was like, SanDisk is making all this money. We want it on too. They came out with the memory stick. And Apple was like, the hell no, we're not supporting that garbage. Windows PCs really supported this garbage, and Sony would pay computers to stick that stupid port in there. And Apple was just like, if you want to use that stupid crap, you get an adapter or you get one of these. I don't want to hear it from you. And Apple, thank you so much for not giving users an option and telling them to go get an adapter, superior format. And we later got these things natively in Macs, and then they took it away because honestly, people just use these things anyway, or they had an adapter camera so you could stick it into computers. Now we get into the flash drive business. The flash drive business started once Apple released the 1999 iMac, and they came in 64 megabytes and 128 megabytes. Later on, were for cameras back in the day as a way for, like, you know, faster speeds because it's bigger, so you can fit a bigger controller on here. And then you have this little adapter thing to reveal the Memory Stick Pro Duo, because, you know, we have to make it smaller to match this guy. I mean, just look at it. Like, they're seriously copying here. We got the little triangle there. We got this here. If you put it like that, oh, you don't know. I mean, heck, it can be one of these things. But you have to stick it in here into adapter in order for it to work, and Sony did give you the adapter in the box. Thank you, Sony, for giving the adapter in the box, but also you suck for creating this hateful piece of technology. Then Lexar was like, ooh, let's try something different. So they came out with this weird, sad piece of technology called, called whatever the heck this thing is. I don't get it. Why would you ever want to make this a standard? Like, this is just a 1 gig SD card. Just get a 1 gig SD card. Why? Why does this even exist? It doesn't make sense. No cameras supported the mini, but Lexar was like, oh, you can get this mini and it's smaller. But these things are already so small, it doesn't matter. And Lexar already came out with this, so what the heck was the point of this? This came out, and then this came out because SanDisk realized, oh, wait, we can only fit 1 gig on here for $500, but you know, if we sell these things, we can fit more storage on there and it can be cheaper, so people will buy them. But then people were like, I'll just get this one if I wanted to get this one, and if it comes with the adapter anyway, why don't I just buy this one, which is like a genuine 1 gig, and not this one? Because if you're already buying an SD card that's 1 gig, this was cheaper than this, and it came with the adapter anyway. So there was no point. There's no point.